I saw this post recently that was retweeted a bunch on Twitter, and it was something like self-doubt in 2016 looked like, oh, I really hope that my work will impress my peers, and self-doubt in 2017 looks like, I hope my work will be able to save the Republic. And I couldn't help but smile when I saw this, but I also could relate to some of this. It's a very timely thing that's been going on right now, particularly for those of us who live in America, but obviously there are many things happening all around the world that can lead you, if you are a person who is caring and empathetic and wants to create a better, more stable and healthy and compassionate society, to feel that your own output, whatever your thing is that you're contributing to the world, is unacceptable or is meager or is weak or is insufficient. I talked about this recently on my blog, that I had purposely chosen to take a little bit of a blogging break, but I found myself having a far more difficult time than I anticipated to get back into the groove of blogging, partly because of everything that is happening in the world at this particular point in time. So as I am filming this, it is the beginning of February 2017. We are sort of reeling, I guess you could say, from a new administration in the US government. And there's been this collective energy for a lot of us of feeling like things are not stable and feeling as though it is a struggle to get our footing with our own place in the world and our own way that we normally work and contribute and create. I know I'm not alone in feeling this because I've talked to many other people who have explained to me that they feel quite similar, and I think the fact that this tweet that I mentioned earlier had been reposted so many times showed that a lot of us are currently trying to come to grasps with how do we continue to show up and do our small bit of creative work, whether that is tarot reading or painting or making music or being a mother or being a doctor or whatever it is that you do in the world, however you show up and serve in the world. A lot of us are struggling right now to reconcile, is that enough? Should I be doing more? Is what I am doing still of value? And as I've been grappling with this myself and considering it, I've been thinking about the many ways in which right now I think there's this sort of collective focus on everything that is wrong with humanity. So a lot of us are finding ourselves upset over greed, finding ourselves upset over injustices and inequalities and racism and sexism and all of these other things that seem to be so prominent in the world. And I'm not by any means going to try to say that those things are not very real problems and that we are not well advised to be invested in those and to be having conversations about those and in trying to do work around those. But it does seem that there's this sort of collective focus on all of these problems of humanity and all of these things about human nature that just seem to be toxic. But human nature is, of course, very complex and very nuanced. There's more to human nature than just the toxic things that are so often being focused on in our social media feeds. I've been, for a couple of years now, really trying to challenge myself to keep perspective about humanity and to immerse myself in the things about humanity that are positive and constructive and meaningful. And this is everything from the grandiose things, the people that have a very visible platform and are changing the world in huge ways that affect many of us, but it also trickles down to the ways in which I see people being constructive in their own little sphere of influence, in their own little creative world. It also leads me to consider, what do we actually mean when we talk about saving the world? What does that actually mean? It's something that a lot of us say, that we want to change the world, that we want to save the world. And I think it's easy for us to get caught up in thinking that there are only very specific acts that are valuable and that actually contribute to saving the world. And we have a hard time seeing how things that don't necessarily directly seem to be influencing this bigger sphere of the world could be contributing to the greater good. And I think that's what leads a lot of us to downplay our own ways that we show up and to feel that whatever way we are serving in the world is actually not sufficient. I think the truth is that saving the world is something that requires a vast amount and a vast diversity of skill sets, opinions, personalities, contributions. Some people contribute to saving the world through science. Some people contribute to saving the world through storytelling. Some people contribute to saving the world through parenting. Some people contribute to saving the world through walking down the street and saying hi to a stranger who might be having a bad day. I think it is really not useful for us to get caught up in overanalyzing and assuming that whatever contribution we are bringing into the world is no longer enough because of the vastness of challenges that the world faces. We need people building up a better world on levels both large and small, and even if your level seems to be quite small, it is still necessary. It is still part of the bigger equation that is adding up to change on the level of our entire species. I think that if you feel genuinely pulled to do some type of work in the world, there's a reason for that, even if your conscious mind can't grasp what that reason might be. I think that many of us come into this world with some type of unique skill set and some type of unique energy that we are drawn to because that is the way that we can personally most effectively contribute to everything, to the greater whole. It also reminds me of one of my favorite passages from the book Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and I've talked about this before on my blog, but she talked about the liberation that comes when we stop telling ourselves that our creativity or our work needs to save the world. Humans are meant to create, humans are meant to serve, humans are meant to work, humans are meant to do and build and be engaged with life. There doesn't have to be some grandiose reason, and the way that you show up and serve in this world does not have to be curing cancer or doing something to radically transform reality. Perhaps what a lot of us need to be doing right now is challenging ourselves even more than ever to push through any self-doubt that we are feeling with our own work in light of what is going on in the world, because perhaps even if we cannot yet see it, eventually in time we will be able to see this greater kind of puzzle piece that our small contributions are all adding up to create. And so if you feel pulled to serve and show up and do your own little slice of work in this world, please keep on doing it. We need you to keep on doing it now more than ever. Push through that self-doubt. You've got this. Talk to you next time.